Imagine a studio full of people laughing as your beats play over the speakers. Well, Kanye West doesn't have to imagine this because it actually happened to him. It's hard to believe that Kanye was once thought of as a B producer, a low-budget Just Blaze. In fact, a lot of his insanely good beats got rejected early in his career because of this. So let's talk about the most famous Kanye beats that got turned down, the stories behind these beats, including Kanye getting laughed at, and we'll also break down how these beats were made. Let's start off with the first insane Kanye beat that got rejected. This one's actually really ironic. The beat I'm talking about is Last Call.
Raise your glasses, your glasses, your glasses to the sky.
Now here's why I say this is ironic. Take a look at the title of the song that this beat samples.
Mr. Rockefeller, I get my magazine.
It's called Mr. Rockefeller, which is ironic because Kanye tried pitching this beat to damn near everyone on Rockefeller, Jay-Z's label. He tried giving it to Jay-Z for the Black Album, he tried giving it to Beanie Sigel, and he tried giving it to Memphis Bleek, and nobody wanted it. Everyone turned it down. So after all this rejection and nobody taking the beat, eventually Kanye uses it to be the closing song on his debut album, The College Dropout. But there's a bit of controversy here. Evidence, co-producer of this beat, says he made the first initial version, but the sample didn't clear, so Kanye eventually redid the beat himself. And when you compare the sample against the final beat on Kanye's album, you'll notice that many of the sounds don't actually appear in the original sample. So here I made a similar remake using my own sounds. We have a harpsichord, organs, and a few other sounds that make up this beat. My favorite sound in this beat is probably this cool theremin. But this is where things start to get confusing and why I say there's some controversy behind this beat. Initially, Evidence gives credit to Kanye, saying his remake was well produced and acknowledges that Kanye did some work to make this beat.
Added drums and sounds and basses and strings, and he really just went all the way in.
But years later, as Kanye starts angering a lot of people with his antics, Evidence has since changed his story, saying that all Kanye did was take his beat and put drums on top, basically downplaying his involvement. So it's hard to know what the truth is behind this beat and how much Kanye actually did. However, let's talk about a beat that Kanye definitely did make himself and definitely got rejected for. In fact, this rapper rejected many of Kanye's beats. Who I'm talking about is Common.
One of the beats I passed on that I regret, but is the song he did called Heard Him Say. You remember that?
Of course. And I heard him say, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today. And I heard him say.
So Common rejected Heard Him Say, which again, Kanye eventually used himself. He also rejects another beat that The Game eventually uses.
You had Wouldn't Get Far too first, right? Before The Game got it?
Yeah. Look, a lot of people have, how could you pass up on that beat? What are you doing? I've been the one that they've been like, Rashi passed up on that beat. That was crazy.
Loving them rap stars, you know who you are. Put your hands up, baby. If you kept your mouth closed.
But what's probably the most famous example of Common rejecting a Kanye beat is Everything I Am. And I say this is the most famous example because Kanye literally says it in the song.
Here we go again. Common passed on this beat, I made it to a jam. Now everything I'm not made me everything I am.
Fantastic beat here though, with some surprisingly straightforward production. Here is the sample that was used. And after the sample gets pitched and sped up, these are the chops that were used. With a second variation where this chop from way later in the song is used. And pretty much the only thing added on top of this beat was this higher pitched snare. So a great example of making good production choices and not overproducing to help the beat actually shine. In fact, if you need some help making good production choices, I do have a free beat making masterclass. So if you're new to beat making or you've been making beats for a while, you don't have the musical knowledge needed to make beats, this is actually built for someone exactly like you. Link is in the description box below, and again, it's absolutely free. So check it out if you're in need of some extra help. Now let's talk about the next beat. The first time Kanye ever gets to work with Jay-Z is on what might be my favorite beat of his that he's produced, This Can't Be Life.
See, I was born in sewage, born to make bomb music. Flow tight fight like I was born Jewish.
So let's break down how this beat was made. This is the sample that was used. And Kanye actually added quite a bit on top of this sample. It isn't just a loop by any means. Here is just the sample playing, which is missing a lot of instrumentation. Kanye then goes to add his own perfect bass line alongside what sounds like a vibraphone, but also this amazing piano melody on top. Earlier, we talked about his song Last Call, and on it, he talks about making this beat and how he basically copied the drums from Explosive by Dr. Dre. Now, the rapper Scarface was a feature on the final track, who in my opinion out-raps Jay-Z with an incredible verse. After this song gets made, Scarface goes on to work with Kanye on his own project. And as the story goes, he was so excited to have found this amazing up-and-coming producer, he starts calling all his friends, telling everyone about Kanye. In fact, this is when Kanye met Mike Dean, but another person Scarface told Kanye about was Too Short. And here is Too Short's retelling of his experience hearing about Kanye.
I remember Scarface called me. He was like, I got the coldest motherfucking producer. He was talking about Kanye West. You know what I told him? I said, man, we got all the, I was in Atlanta. I was like, we got all the producers with me. I don't need no new producers. And he was like, I swear to God, if I can't remember the number and I don't want to disrespect Kanye, but I swear he said $2,000 a beat. He said, it's the way beats. He's like, it's the shit. And I was like, man, we got producers. I did some dumb shit in my life, but that was one of the...
That's wild.
That's up on the top of the list.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how a Too Short and Kanye song would have sounded. Now let's talk about the story of Kanye being laughed at. What makes the story wild is it centers around a huge breakout beat of his. So the story goes way back to when nobody believed in Kanye and he was still being called Urkel behind his back. In fact, another producer who passed on his beats around this time was Ghostface Killah. But this is also the time when Kanye was trying to convince people that he was not only a good producer, but also a good rapper. He was going around pitching himself to tons of labels using this one song, which everyone rejected. Nobody wanted this. What I'm talking about is Jesus Walks.
God show me the way because the devil's trying to break me down.
Which uses this sample. And different pieces of the sample are looped throughout the entire beat. And in my opinion, what makes this beat sound so full and complete is just how intricate and detailed the drums are. Now the story goes that Kanye was in a room full of A&Rs, execs, DJ Clue, and even the rapper Fabulous. And as this beat was playing, he's mouthing his own lyrics, acting like he's in a rap video in front of everyone. But once the beat is done playing, Kanye then goes to leave to go to the kitchen, and as soon as he does, the entire room just bursts out laughing at him. In fact, one of the producers in the studio even told an assistant to make sure Kanye never rapped in the studio again. Pretty crazy, especially since 3 years after this, Kanye goes on to win a Grammy with the very same song. It's interesting how things turn out in the end. You're probably noticing a theme. A lot of these rejected beats actually show up on Kanye's debut album, which I talked about more in the video next to me. In it, I break down what Kanye had to go through to make this album, including how many more of the beats on this album were made. So if you're interested, check it out. It's next to me. But if you like this video, hit like and subscribe, and yeah, I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.